tragic consequences when emergency medical care never arrived in response to recent drownings on the island of Culebra. This morning, we hear from two people who did try to help when a man was in urgent need. Our lead national correspondent, David Bagno, is back with the story. David, your story was so disturbing yesterday. I can't imagine it get any worse.
It's such an important story.
I think so, too.
And today we'll hear from the two people at the scene. We told you about the two families yesterday whose lives were changed forever when they went on vacation to the paradise island of Culebra. There was Manny Ma, the man from Utah who drowned while snorkeling. And then there was the heartbreaking experience of Sharuja Paramanathan from Canada, who waited helplessly for an ambulance to arrive after her husband drowned on Flamenco Beach. Here is part 2 of our report, beginning with more of our interview with Sharuja. I want to warn you, some of what you are about to see is disturbing.
Finally, the ambulance came. The person, I remember asking, somebody asked if they know how to do CPR, and I remember him asking, what's CPR? So at that time, I kind of lost my hope.
Sharuja Paramanathan says she was holding out hope that once they got into the ambulance, there would at least be some type of life-saving equipment, like a defibrillator, that could help to resuscitate her husband.
It's empty! It's empty! They come with an ambulance, it's completely empty!
There's no machine, nothing in there.
Her husband was taken to Culebra's only clinic, and that is where he was pronounced dead.
I'm sure if it happened in Toronto, he'll be alive right now. That's what I know right now.
If they would have done more, he would be alive.
For sure. For sure. I'm from Sri Lanka, and I've been in the ambulance in Sri Lanka, and it's a third world country, and they have much better facility than this. Much better facility.
Emily Jimenez, a certified medical assistant, and Emily Bocut, a registered nurse, were there with their young families on vacation. They were two of the Good Samaritans on the beach that day when the emergency happened. They didn't know each other before this, and they have not seen Sharuja since then. What is it like for the two of you just listening to her?
It's heartbreaking. I've had every feeling that you can imagine, from anger to frustration to sadness. There's people that live there. What kind of care are they getting?
I told the same Emily when I left that hospital. I told them, this gotta change. I mean, what happened to us shouldn't happen to anybody else.
Do you remember saying at some point, where the heck is the ambulance?
Yes, multiple times. Yep. I was the one doing compressions when they showed up. Yeah. And I just looked up and I said, hey, we're all exhausted. Is there any way you guys could take over for us or help us?
What did they say?
They said no. They just said, no, we don't do them out here.
So what were they doing? Standing around just watching y'all?
Yep, standing around.
Emily Jimenez recorded this video.
Ambulance takes over 30 minutes. Then they come with no equipment. They refuse to give him CPR.
There is one resident living on Culebra who says he is a certified paramedic. He even posted on his Facebook page about passing the test. His name is David Perez. In fact, he was one of the first responders to arrive on the beach that day when Good Samaritans were trying to revive Sharuja's husband.
All right, so you and another person responded to the scene.
Yes, él es driver, only driver.
And so what were you there to do?
Asistir al chofer, en otras palabras, porque...
Assist the chauffeur.
Assist the chauffeur.
Yes. ¿Cómo se dice? My job prescription is technician, the emergency management. No ENT, no paramedic, o sea, not in the health, de salud.
I hear you, but I'm just struggling, David, because you are a paramedic. So I understand you're not working for the municipality as a paramedic, but when this happened, you were trained as a paramedic. So why didn't you offer to help with the CPR or with anything?
El CPR, ellos lo estaban haciendo.
He claims that once they got into the ambulance, he performed CPR. Sharuja told us that never happened.
In my experience in the States, paramedics just always jump in, right? They always just jump in and take over.
Eso es en Estados Unidos, aquí en Puerto Rico. Aquí a veces no tenemos apoyo ni de la policía, muchachos.
What did he say?
He said that He said that that's in the United States, not necessarily here.
It's not in Puerto Rico.
But, yeah.
And I think, and I don't,
Aquí a veces no hay apoyo ni de la policía.
Yeah, sometimes there's not even support from the police.
there's not even support for police, and I appreciate the candor, but it's also kind of sad.
I would like to see the people that were responsible to assist but chose not to be held accountable. I would like to see the government, use the funds that they have and utilize them to making the island safe.
And so what did the two of you think walking away?
I assumed they were going to give care, but I felt just sick about it all. That man did not get the justice of care that he needed.
Sick why?
There's so many things just basic things that could have given him a better outcome. And we didn't have any of that. We weren't able to give him the best care we could have.
Would you go back?
I don't think so. I feel like it's too big of a risk, especially with my family. At this point, there has to be something done.
5 days after we left Culebra, a 58-year-old man died after drowning on Flamenco Beach. Now, the mayor's office tells us they have since hired a lifeguard who began working on May 14th, and that there have been no reported drownings since. Now, get this, the Puerto Rico Public Safety Department that oversees all of Puerto Rico's islands told us in a statement that in Culebra there are 2 municipal paramedics, one of them that's certified. So we went back to the mayor's office to say, hey, did you hire someone since we were there? Do you now have a paramedic? You know what they told us? No, we haven't hired anyone but the lifeguard.
I'm telling you, if I was thinking about a trip to Culebra, I'd be rethinking it right about now.
For sure.
I'm fascinated by that paramedic who sat down and talked to you and just admitted, no, I didn't do anything. And he was aware that someone died. He was aware, and he's still saying this to you. I don't get it, David.
It's in his own words. Now, let me say this, Gil. They thrive on tourism.
Yeah.
There will be people who watch this story who say this is going to hurt tourism. I want to be very clear. This is not an attempt to hurt tourism. This is waving a giant red flag to say that in a United States territory, it is unacceptable to not have a single paramedic or a working ambulance available 24 hours a day. And the island's government can do something about it. In fact, last night, we were on the phone late at night, and we found out that apparently there's some type of effort in the works for the island's government to help Culebra and send medics over from the main island.
But it's a stinging.
Well, they knew to do it sooner rather than later.
Immediately.
The mayor you spoke to yesterday, he acknowledged that there was a problem.
Totally.
He did acknowledge that.
Totally.
So they should fix it.
It's a stinging indictment when Sharuja says that in Sri Lanka, which she admits is a third world country where she is from, that there are better facilities, and this wouldn't have happened there, than a territory of the United States of America. And then when you have the nurse, Emily, who says that, he would still be here if he had gotten
And I know there are locals on the island who are watching this saying, David, we've been dealing with this for years. And it took tourists dying for this to get the attention that we've been asking for.
I could see why that would be upsetting. I was wondering how it could get worse today, and it did.
Yeah. And I know
I'm glad you're telling it.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on this type of reporting, which is exquisite. But this is important because it could save lives.
Bingo.